Good morning. I'm Rebecca Riggs, the worship associate for this morning's service, and I am so glad that you've joined us here this morning. As a symbol of our virtual coming together, would you please say with me the chalice lighting words as I light the flame? We kindle this flame, symbol of our faith, for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of love, which calls us to work for justice.
Good morning, everyone. I am Marcy Bowden, your Director of Faith Formation Ministry. If you have any children in your household, now is the time to call them forward to your device as we get ready for our Time for All Ages. So a few announcements to start us off. Pastoral Care Associate this week is Melissa Bush. You can reach her via an email, pastoralcare@vuu.org, or you can use the chat box. So when you click on the chat box, the names come up in alphabetical order, so look for Melissa Bush there. A quick plea for help. We have been struggling to maintain the 7 volunteers needed for Pasta Cristo on the second Friday of every month. If you are interested and available to sign up for that, I believe the link in the happenings is the way to start that off. Reminder, we have a congregational meeting today where we're voting for a senior minister search committee. A couple things to remember. Your full name needs to be on your Zoom camera. So notice that mine today says Marcy Bowden, not Faith Formation. Just got a visitor. And also, if you have more than one member in your household, each person needs to be logged on separately so that the vote will count. After the congregational meeting, we will still have our breakout room, but our prompt today will be, what is your history at Valley UU congregation? So our Time for All Ages. I invited the children and youth of VUU to share with us their memories here at VUU. We have a small sampling to share with you.
This is Aldo. He drew for us a picture of the classrooms over in the education complex. This picture is by Sophia. All 3 of the Cipolla children drew pictures showing that VUU means friends and family to them. The second picture is by Etta. The children drew themselves with the friends they've made and with their family at services and in the classroom. The third picture is by Lincoln. Notice that they all especially liked the Easter egg hunt. Ananda painted this colorful picture where she remembers our playground and the love that she feels at VUU. Valera's most memorable moment was the day that she and her sister received their Religion and Life Girl Scout Award. It was like her public life became connected to her church life. This is a big source of validation for her. Macy said she thought of a Sunday school class where they made lollipops, but also she was reminded of the flowers in the courtyard by the classrooms. Maisie loves to sing during church services, even when they're on Zoom. William shared with us a picture that he drew of himself with a chalice. This painting hangs in my office. It was painted for me almost 10 years ago by Jenna Shadier after she finished an owl class.
When we meet in person, the children join me up front at the sanctuary for our Time for All Ages. Afterwards, congregants join hands and create a bridge over the aisles as we sing the children out to their classrooms. Although we sing a variety of songs, the most commonly used is This Little Light of Mine. This song was written by Harry Dixon Lowes around 1920 as a children's song, and later became an anthem of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. The song is famously tied to civil rights leader Fannie Lou Hamer, who sang it while being detained by police after she attempted to register to vote. Enjoy This Little Light of Mine and our Bridge of Love as it's introduced by Montana Galbraith and our 2019 Coming of Age class.
As per UU tradition, we'll sing our children out to their classes under a bridge of love.
If you're comfortable, come close. This little light of mine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Building up a world, building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Thank you. Please be seated.
I want to add my welcome to all of you who've been able to join us this morning. There aren't a lot of places that you can go these days where you know you are surrounded by caring people who are drawn together as an extended family. VUU is definitely one of those places. And if you're a visitor this morning and don't feel part of that family yet, well, we hope you keep coming so we can get to know you better and you can get to know us. We know each of you bring talents and vision that we so hope you will share with us over time. So if you are visiting and would like to know more about our community or about Unitarian Universalist in general, please send a note in the chat to our minister, Fred Wooden, or stay in the main room after the congregational meeting to visit with him and be welcomed by a few of us more personally. I am assuming that I am not the only one who has gone on the internet looking for something very particular and then spent a ridiculous amount of time bouncing around from one article to the next, just things that happen to catch your interest. This is what happened to me lately as I was looking for an article that I vaguely remembered reading that I wanted to use for our Spirit of Life reading circle. The gist of the article was why rational thought and logical arguments often weren't effective in persuading someone with a different viewpoint, but appealing to emotion and in particular stories often leads to more converts. In that search, I wandered off to many off-topic articles, and along the way, I came to some surprising research done by Marshall Duke, a colorful psychologist at Emory University. In the late 1990s, Dr. Duke was asked to explore the myth and ritual in American families. And around that time, Dr. Duke's wife, Sarah, who worked with children with learning disabilities, noticed something about her students. The ones who knew a lot about their families tended to do better when they were faced with challenges. Her husband was intrigued and set out to test her hypothesis. His team developed a measure called the Do You Know scale that asked children to answer 20 questions. Examples included, do you know where your grandparents grew up? Do you know where your mom and dad went to high school? Do you know where your parents met? Do you know an illness or something really terrible that happened in your family? Do you know the story of your birth? Dr. Duke asked those and more similar questions of 4 families in the summer of 2001 and recorded several of their dinner conversations as well. Then he compared the children's results to a battery of psychological tests the children had taken and reached an overwhelming conclusion. The more the children knew about their family history, the stronger their sense of control over their lives, the higher their self-esteem, and the more successfully they believed their families functioned. The do you know scale turned out to be the best single predictor of children's emotional health and happiness. The testing was repeated after September 11th attacks, finding an even stronger correlation. Now, why does knowing where your grandmother went to school help a child overcome something as minor as a skinned knee or as major as a terrorist attack? The answers have to do with the child's sense of being part of a larger family, that family's history. Dr. Duke explained that psychologists have found that every family has a unifying story, some narrative. And the most helpful narrative is one called the oscillating family. It goes something like this. Dear, let me tell you, we've had ups and downs in our family. We built a business. Your grandfather was a pillar of the community. Your mother was on the board of the hospital. But we also had setbacks. You had an uncle who was once arrested. We even had a fire at our house, and your father lost his job once. But no matter what happened, we always stuck together as a family. Dr. Duke said that the children who had the most self-confidence that he had called strong intergenerational self, they knew they belonged to something bigger than themselves. When I read this, it struck me so forcefully, not for my nuclear family, but for my VUU family. It reminded me of what Reverend Wooden stressed last week, the strength that comes from knowing we are part of something bigger than we are. What we're doing over the next year and a half as we prepare for our next chapter is getting down our narrative, making sure we know our strong intergenerational self, and reminding ourselves that just like those kids, knowing this narrative is a big part of what will keep us strong and thriving in the years to come. So please lend your voice and be part of this narrative. Once again, welcome to our worship this morning, and thank you for being part of our Valley UU family.
I'm inside the sanctuary today. I want you to see it again. The artwork on the wall. There are pictures of former clergy in the back. And you'll notice it's empty right now. And you're not here because it's not safe for us to be together in one room because of the pandemic. But I want you to see your space again because it bears you the fingerprints of your past and your present. And this is important when we talk about an offering because it was the offerings and gifts of those who frequently came before you that made this building possible for you to have as a place to gather and be a family, to be a community, to be a neighborhood, as it were. And I wanted you to see it because there is a great gift you gave, which was when you couldn't be here as a community and a neighborhood because of the pandemic, we gave the building to iHelp so that a few people who had no homes would have a safe place to be. And while we were closed to ourselves, we were open to them for 9 months. Now they're not gone. We're just sharing the space during the months of January, February, March, and April. They'll be back in February. In fact, someone came by today expecting to find them here. But I want to congratulate you as a community on your offering as a community to the wider community. That is how you make the world a better place. That is how justice happens. So I'm going to ask Jim Bennett to put up that slide that we usually see on Sundays, because you help the community be able to do that by your contributions as well. We have a new website, and you should go there and see how beautiful it is. And you can click on the Give button, and it will take you to a familiar place where you can make your gift to the congregation. You can text, you can mail a check. If you want me to, I'll drive to your house and hold out my hand with a surgical glove and take it out of your hand. But the point is, we want you to understand that your strength as a person makes us strong as a community. And because of that, we are able to give this community around us the gifts that we have had of safety and security and belonging. You are a great community because of your gifts, and your gifts make us a great community in the community. Well, as you can see, I'm down here all by myself at the front of this immense room. But this is a time when I want you to consider populating that room with your memories. This year is a year, as I'm calling in the order of worship, a year of transition. Rebecca made reference to it. We begin now in earnest that journey that takes you from where you were a year ago to where you're going to be in a year and a half, God willing. And the emptiness of this place is symbolic because it means you're going to fill it with a new story. But in order to get from point A to point B, we have to get together as a group. And part of the way I do that as your interim minister is to assemble a team to advise me and to help me help you move from here to there. So I'd like to introduce the transition team and then share the work we've been doing so far. And I'm going to be looking right now and inviting them to take part by asking them a question. And here are the members of your transition team who have been helping me so far and will continue to help me through the interim. Linda Horton and Evan Anderson and Jody Ciccarello and Jenny Eccles and Jamila Michbel Polium. Some of them can be with us today. And so Linda, I'm going to ask you, what is it about being on the transition team that has been most insightful to you? You're going to have to unmute yourself, Linda, if you're trying to talk. So if you can so whoever's the host needs to unmute those folks if they can.
They can unmute themselves.
All right. So can Linda hear me? If you can't, or you can't do that, Evan, can you check in with me and say what it's been like being on the transition team so far?
Absolutely. It's been nice. It's been a pleasure to be involved and do some service for the community at large, and it's been nice getting to know you. And one of the great things when the project we did today was getting to know a little bit more about the amazing contributions that have been with this congregation and the people that have contributed so much. Because a lot of this I didn't know. I've been here for a while, but it's been a real pleasure to get to know more about our history.
Thank you, Evan. Jody, what's it like being on the transition team? Can you tell us? hoping she can activate her.
They let me talk now, so why don't I talk
All right.
while
All right,
they're
we'll hear Linda
unmuting her.
instead.
Okay,
There you go.
because I just wanted to say that listening to Rebecca, it was fantastic to give a name to the do you know scale, because that's exactly what we hope to be doing with all the activities early in this transition process. And everybody who contributes to it helps bring us together at a time when we have not been able to be together. So
Yep.
Thanks to everybody who has worked or contributed to this effort.
Thank you, Linda. Jody, can you chime in?
Yes, I can now. And I have to reiterate, I don't think I could do a more eloquent job than Rebecca did. That was perfect. That is exactly what our team is trying to do in establishing who we are, where we came from, but what's important to us and where we want to move to. So that's the transition team, as well as now choosing our search committee that's going to give them direction on where we want to go. It's been so wonderful. It's been a great way to make more connections with people. And I am so proud of this community and the way that they have stuck together through a very difficult time. And please, everybody join in whatever way you're comfortable, whether it's a video or a story or connection circle. Share your ideas and your thoughts so that we can make a good choice moving forward.
Thank you, Jody. I don't know, is Jenny with us? She's not in.
Jenny is asleep in Sydney, Australia, having just been allowed out of quarantine.
Yay for her, so we can let her go for the moment, but we'll make her work the moment she gets up. Jamila, is Jamila able to be with us this morning?
I'm here.
Yay.
Hi, everybody. I guess my thoughts on this entire project are run along the same lines as Jody. We barely joined the congregation and started attending in 2015. And it has been fascinating to see all of the stories all the way from the beginning of the formation of Valley UU. And I know a lot of people by sight, but hearing their personal stories and anecdotes has just made me feel so much closer to so many longtime members of the community and newer members. So even though we've been apart for this long, I do feel much closer to many people by virtue of their stories and thoughts.
Thank you, Jamila. Now, you out there, the rest of this community, let's share the work that they've been working on, which is collecting so many of these stories. In normal times, whatever they are, we would be putting them on huge racks of butcher paper running around the room, and you'd be adding your names and be putting your dates on them. On that, but we can't do that. So instead, we have a slide presentation. It's a fairly long one, but we're going to ask Evan to cue it up in just a moment so you can see what we've learned so far. But here's what's important. You're not going to be able to read it all. It's too long. But we will post a link to that on the website and in Happening so you can see it for yourself. And if you'd like to contribute to it, you can. Send your story to history@vuu.org, and we will continue to expand this, and it becomes an oral history project that will not only be yours, but would be an introduction in the future for your new clergy person. It's a chance for you to be a complete partner in creating and being Valley UU. So Evan, let's see if you can screen share that wonderful program. technology is not always our friend.
Thank you, transition team, for that wonderful slideshow. Good morning. I'm Katie Seifert, the Director of Music Ministries, and I am so thankful to be part of this community with such a rich history. This next hymn that we will sing together is one that always makes me think of you. In fact, all of the music this morning are songs recommended by members of our VUU choir. I asked them, what songs make you think VUU? The songs today are our answers, songs that have history, meaning, and many memories shared together. Whether you like the style, the tune, the rhythm, the words, or perhaps nothing about it at all, hopefully the music this morning connects you to us, to one another, to our past, our present, and well into our future. Please join in singing Come Sing a Song with Me.
Actually, let's take a moment, if we can, for a little prayerful, meditative spot. And that's not hard because here I am in this big room. And as I was watching the song go by, I was hearing the rain on the roof, a rare sound in Arizona. When we were very young, our parent teaches us before we cross the street to do two things, or three things, right? Stop, look, and listen. That sounds like the perfect definition of prayer. Stop, whatever you're doing. Look around. Notice where you are. Listen to the world, not just your thoughts about the world. Stop. Look. Listen. Because pray, whatever you may think, is simply to go outside yourself to find yourself. With that definition, pray ceaselessly.
Angel City Chorale is a premier choral group in Southern California. They represent the spirit and diversity of Los Angeles in their membership, diverse range of music, and outreach activities, thereby fulfilling their mission to build community one song at a time. Artistic director Fink founded the chorale at a guitar shop in 1993 with just 18 singers. And today they have grown to over 180 talented and dedicated singers, best known for their performances on America's Got Talent. I was especially moved by their rendition of Sia Hamba, a Zulu folk song that originated in South Africa. This song is popular in churches all around the world, but especially our own. May we all enjoy Sia Hamba, performed by Angel City Chorale and the Amy Foundation Youth Choir from Cape Town, South Africa. Another fantastic foundation that provides underprivileged learners with enrichment opportunities. May this music, Sia Hamba, again warm our hearts as we reflect on the past this morning, but also connect us together today so that we can be inspired and move forward into tomorrow.
Let's have a few extra words because That's what we do. Unitarian Universalists love to talk. And while it is really tempting to go back into that Jimmy Cliff song about how we can see clearly now, I'm actually remembering President Lincoln in his second inaugural when they reached the very end of the Civil War and the end was clear. And he said, let us strive on to finish the work we are in. Those words went largely unheeded over time, and many of the issues we face today as a nation are because we didn't finish that work then. But what has that to do with you and me and this spiritual community? Well, maybe not much. But just as family history can shape personal decisions, as Rebecca showed us earlier, national history affects nations and institutional history affects institutions. Just as therapists, good ones at least, invite their clients to talk about their families, so we interim clergy invite you, congregation, to tell your story, and you've seen a part of it today. I shared the slideshow with several small groups earlier this week as part of the stewardship process I'm involved in, and you will see them if you haven't already, if you're going to one of those meetings. Those who have been here for years really enjoyed seeing their stories and those of their friends being told. Those who were new, as Jamila pointed out, learned the stories of those who went before. And we always join our stories to others. And in that way, we become part of a larger story. As someone observed earlier this week during one of those meetings, I was not there for those early days, but still it's my story. And she's right. We need to tell stories. Brian Boyd writes in a book I like very much, one he cunningly titled On the Origin of Stories, because he thinks we're literally wired to tell stories, that it's in our actual DNA, that because we can tell stories, we can have families and that we can have communities. And I think he's right. We want to connect the dots and dashes of experience, the firefly flashes, and the one and only moments in life, to see in the sky of memory constellations, not just flicks of light. When I was a youth in a Unitarian Universalist congregation, there was a curriculum called Man the Meaning Maker. That's what stories do. They make meaning. They take raw facts and turn them into constellations that go from here to there. A reading in our gray hymn book from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry says, we live not by things, but by the meaning of things. And we pass along those meanings through stories. Well, what does Valley Unitarian Universalist congregation mean? Well, that's what I'm here to do, to draw that from you. And we've begun with your stories, and that's the first part of the transition process that will lead you to your next chapter. Then, as ancient people looked for patterns in the stars to see if there were clumps or clusters, streams and eddies, we'll look to see if there aren't constellations, galaxies, clouds. Perhaps you saw some of those constellations, those clumps, those galaxies in that slideshow earlier. I did too, and I'm going to tell you about, let me see, how many did I notice? 4. And I'm going to name them all after songs and famous phrases. I once was lost, but now am found. That's a good evangelical hymn. Everybody sings it, but we mostly don't use it the way evangelicals do. But it really does apply to you and to our movement. Everyone who came here came because in some way they were alone and felt lost. They came here because they wanted to find a place where they would belong, where they could be exactly themselves and be welcome as exactly who they are. That may be our conversion story. the thing we tell each other, the thing that makes us feel united. No, there's no confession of faith, but there is a confession of story. Yes, I once was lost, but now am found. Number 2, tomorrow is only a day away. Yeah, that's a cliche, just like the other one. But in your case, it is an eagerness for the future that is larger than your devotion to the past. Maybe that's because you've only been a community for 60 some years, or just about 60 years. The hymn, written for the consolidation of our movement back in 1961, includes this line: "A freedom that reveres the past, but trusts the dawning future more." That is what you're saying. We revere our past, but we trust the dawning future more. We're in business to go that way. You know, a lot of congregations, churches, old ones especially, with big buildings and long histories, they spend as much time, if not money, on preserving their past as they do on imagining their future. But churches are not museums. At least that's not their primary job. Making room for tomorrow is the job you have. And my job in front of you is to help you make room for tomorrow. Fortunately for me, you already want to do that. Number 3, song by Bob Dylan, "Make You Feel My Love," comes from an album called Time Out of Mind, which was the phrase that designates this service. And that song describes someone going extra mile to make someone else feel their love. Over and over, people told stories of other people who went the extra mile to comfort them and help them. Over and over, we hear about the Mary Lou Coys. We hear about the Mary Rothschilds. We hear about the clergy and the staff. And always it's how they went the extra mile to help. They came to my assistance. It is in your nature as a community to care for one another and to take care of one another. That must be as deeply rooted as your original community to be so pervasive and presumed. It is part of who you are. And we are marching. You just heard Sia Hamba. You serve yourselves, but not yourselves alone. Your stories include those who are not in your story, especially in the last 2 decades as you began to realize the truth that old Rabbi Hillel created when he asked, "If I am only for myself, who am I?" That's a struggle for many churches. They become self-involved, self-centered. And when they do that, they cease to see the world as their mission. But you do. The truth you seek, the love you feel, the hope you claim, what the song calls the light of God, drives you to go out from this place, away from this room. No, you've not been here for months, and that makes you heartsick. But your hearts are also full that we welcomed in the homeless, that you continue to serve those around you. Your mission to the world has not stopped, and that is part of what has kept you going in the absence of regular gathering. 4 songs that really do belong to you. I once was lost, but now am found. Tomorrow is only a day away. Make you feel my love, and we are marching. Those are the songs I heard as you described your stories. Of course, I could be wrong. I've only been here for 5 months. And there may be more songs than that describe you. And none of them are practiced perfectly. But perfection is not the goal, as this virtual worship proves every week. We never get it just right, but we get it right enough. Almost 2 years ago, I actually was in South Africa, and I went there to see some of those places associated with the struggle to end apartheid. The brutality of that era is legendary, with startling similarities to American racism, a warning and a hope. The day when Nelson Mandela stood before a teeming crowd in Cape Town was made possible by the mayor of that town. And the mayor of that town had a full-time job as the Unitarian minister to the small congregation in that city. No, you don't know about Gordon, but you should, because that community and that person cleared the way for Nelson Mandela to stand on a balcony in Cape Town before hundreds of thousands of people. As I learned, the years between that moment and the new Constitution of South Africa were even more bloody than those preceding it. Civil war was very possible in that era, but Mandela, older, much wiser, understanding his authority was in his gravity, steered a course that avoided war without conceding justice. And while that nation still struggles, it has moved light years beyond where it was. I went to his small house in Soweto, smaller even than Dr. King's parsonage in Montgomery, to which I referred a week or so ago. It is a shrine, of course, but the simplicity of the place is still there. The plain twin bed where he slept, the small desk, the wood stove, the plain tiled floor. But on every wall and shelf are the testimonials and honorary degrees and proclamations that he and Winnie received during his imprisonment and her endurance. It was both humble and great. That is what a spiritual community can be, wants to be. Humble and great. And it cannot be truly one without the other. Your stories have that quality. I hear humility about individuals and greatness in the way individuals rose to serve others. Humility and greatness could be your destiny. Make those your touchstones. And I guarantee that so long as you keep on marching, as Mandela did, you will be on the right path. We have more steps to take in this transition journey. We will learn to find out what we do best, how to engage a world larger than our own in new and more exciting ways. And at the end, there will be a new person, eager to go with you, not for you to follow that person, but for that person to take up the dream you so dearly hold and live. For the honor of allowing me to join you along the way, I am deeply grateful. And so I say, so be it. Amen. Blessed be. Yes, blessed be. And why not sing? Let's sing that song you heard during the slideshow, the one that I understand is one of your favorites. It's time to sing Blue Boat Home. Go out into the highways and byways. Give the people something of your new vision. These are words attributed to the great Universalist John Murray. He said, and is paraphrased, you may possess a small light. Let me show you the light. But uncover it. Let it shine. Indeed, let it shine and use it to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. And I'll now invite Rebecca Riggs to help us extinguish the chalice and conclude our worship this morning.
Please join me in saying together our chalice extinguishing words. Though we extinguish the chalice, our connection to each other and this community remains. May its light guide us this week as we walk the path of justice, speak words of love, and fill our world with compassion until we meet again. For those of you who need to leave now, have a wonderful and safe week. We will look forward to seeing you all again next Sunday. But we hope many, or maybe even most of you, can stay for the congregational meeting where we will be voting for the search committee members who will be charged with finding our new settled minister. So for now, just take a short 5-minute break and then please rejoin with us. Today, our breakout groups will happen after the congregational meeting. Thank you all for joining us here this morning. And again, blessed be.